Hello, black and yellow, shadow boxing. Shout out to Wiz Khalifa. Shout out to Bees. Bees can't hear me, but it can be even better if you guys hear. Because life is all about hyper-additional nature. All things, the identity of hyper-relativity. To discern it, begin with the discernment of that distinct identity of hyper-simultaneous nature that uses how our volume science as a species body didn't invent itself and the other species body with those same quality aspects in nature is distinct but also non-distinct and simultaneous but also further discernibly within as a hyper-additional, hyper-simultaneous nature, a distinct identity of simultaneous nature. And every identity comes with its distinct identity relationship to itself, but hyper-additionally, as increasing amounts of bodies. And as its system positive to itself, when its use /s of a special difference to answer our questions, for example, see, but when that's ignored, lied about, hated, obfuscated, it forces lethal IDs, force-based nature transfer, being systems tactical theory from its own, even if we all agree. As systems other than its own, it demonstrates with negative value nature, progressions, action nature, as syntactical styles employed by the breaching method in ways no one realized, and that was sustained before our founders were born, sickly distinctly against colonists, and sickly distinctly against Native Americans, and sickly distinctly against the countries associated with that. This came from before modern religious messenger. This is relative to the difference between the people attacking the religions in defense of themselves, and the exception have collusions discernible. For example, regarding how the beginning of two of the biggest religious books, the Quran and the Old Testament, come with parts in the front of it that dictate how to interpret the book, how to defend the book even. But everyone doesn't even know about that part, because the difference /s, people use their knowledge of good and evil to get over on sequence truth and styles and convictions and conviction nature proper with truth, for example, using what is truth always, not denying the slightest exceptions, not denied or exploited by that person or someone else, because increasingly there are other names involved with everyone's descriptions, including the name of the scientific value of the breaching method itself, that which was entrenched in America since before America's founders were born. That's that which was entrenched in Russia before Russia's founders were born. There were Chinese priests who had or monks. Somewhere on YouTube they have about it. I have to figure out where it is. I'll put a link to it. But nonetheless, all these countries, names A through Z, this breaching method made them use names A through Z for itself to keep other than itself blamed for things it caused, like negative value nature, progressions, action nature, and then that self-value that defended as styles of factory nature. I was just reading on Twitter a post about how AI is making all kinds of plagiarisms problems because they don't know how to speak for the law, and they're using the difference, like of political parties, with logic and syntax, and the nature of debate that is offensively affront to the nature of reason and logic that answers our questions properly. In other words, the gates to each industry, originally and still, our founders communicated for us to demonstrate how the breaching method also they had designed the suburbs for a torture, extortion, slavery method 3 ways manifest. 1/3/5 ways manifest. For science, like check my live stream videos. Some of my best videos are live stream. So, boxing. Because I'm going by what's true always, not denying slight exceptions. What are witch trials about? Witch trials, no matter who made them up, what they were about the torture / extortion / slavery method. No one even allows anyone to be honest about the extortion of George Washington. Otherwise, that would have been revealed. People have self-value roles with things just because they're published and just because they're from campuses. When did the campuses get left out from the breaching method uses of names A through Z? Roles with itself or that body was sensed, including if it was a majority of people, including if it was everyone. Not one person wanted the black-white thing. If and where there are exceptions, it's relative to clearer than day. Black, KKK theme, Latino collusion /S. See people using words like drugs, they don't make distinctions between the quality types of it because they have rules of predicate acts for facts methods. And use of that by a breaching method words. Forgiveness is to not leave out the breaching method with blame. All sides in criminal and civil cases originally still. And the interbranch name switching sequences, putting victims in databases, switching names to measure and maintain collusions with criminally foreign influence readings of statutes of precedents originally still. That's what our founders communicated. That's what Marbury versus Madison, and simultaneously the amendment that gives us, we have rights that are too numerous to list. See, if we have quality factual nature, collusion /S, also screening roles with hundreds of nations, and then concentrated with the ones on off the campuses as actually shared. And they have the audacity to pretend integrity of having had weapons pointed at each other at the same time while we were in the same trap, and that's self-valued by both sides. All kinds of roles, sticking fake things in databases since before computers, per an algorithm that measures and maintains collusions with criminal insidious natures of positives and negatives in behavior and social descriptions and motivations descriptions for use of other names. And as logic styles, used offensively to prevent demonstration of the uses of the differences between those all our ground locations, how they are a victim of this thing, self-value. The roles with the breaching method, blaming other things other than themselves for why and how there has been no integrity regarding how they use white or black. In other words, or Caucasian, or the difference of it. Narratives and natures are tactically delusions, raw, criminally foreign influence, factual nature styles, aspects, and regarding the integrity of the sciences, and regarding the value of their passions and emotions, and where and how they are calm or not calm. When someone says that the sciences are a bridge, it is from off campuses, that is true, but it had been originally and still hyper-additionally then from those locations, as other motivations, natures, needs, interests, hyper-addition with the original one, and rolls with it from off those locations increasingly relative to what is known observable, how it stays. Democrats and Republicans have roles with all kinds of natures of child abuse and organized crime on off campuses, and they have shell games with sexual groups and directions to use such, like where they have different clubs and different groups next to state capitals and things. These are people planting evidences with interagencies, even if they made up the whole thing, but that's not what I'm saying they did. President Trump looked like he really got shot. It looked like more than a bee sting. I said it was a bee sting. He didn't want to go down because sickly distinctly the Democratic individual voice or the Republican individual voice, like they wanted, they're dishonest with themselves and others as locations, areas, and states when they want to pretend someone's truthful as an individual leader, or dishonest, leaving out their own dishonesty. That's what, in other words, with math and with that which the world agrees about economics, but they leave out the breaching method, and you guys are forcing leaders to do such. all exceptions, you're hurting them with that too. Just because you say a leader's name and keep saying good things or bad things about another party's name, that's not how you support a president. You support a president by being conscious that originally still the difference is not just between black pupils, whites of eyes, and assigned roles with communicating other, or with use /s of other communicated for that, then nature communicates with it. Comes with revelations. For example, it shows we have the same color eyes and different color eyes at the same time, and the same colors are black and white. And so we're going to observe mothers. When we have black actors playing white relative to this breaching method through the ages that we have to act out. They have to play Italian, Irish, French, Swedish, English, Native American, Latino. How it's a color, but then it's Latino. Exceptions, exception nature used fake exception, exception nature. Debates using the word drugs. Our roles of predicate acts with facts method. Concentrated at cities, where they were concentrated at suburbs before America's founders were even born. They forced, it was sustained against Native Americans and against colonists sickly distinctly against the countries involved with it. All groupings of them, all natures of unity, like peace, positive things, and collusions as criminal and seditious natures of positive with the negative. Otherwise, that body was sentenced, including if it was a majority of people, including if it was everybody, and that was sustained. So by the time any groupings came, it knew how it could easily hurt and or help at the same time them, and force, trick, hurt, and persuade others or selves to stay blamed for nature's increasing demonstration of a hyper-archetypal criminal enterprise being more practical and probable relative to syntactical treatments of things like terrorists, or criminal enterprise, or wrongdoers. I'm not a lawyer, and I'm not a criminal, and the difference between overt criminal enterprises, private ones, news, doctors, foreign and domestic, are putting fake things into fake ties with their kids and adults too. Increasingly, they use distinctions on the ground, like corners of streets, as shown needs to hide lie progressions, right where and how hyper additional motivations, nature's needs, interests, and motivations apparent are used to screen, increasing ones are used to screen that the breaching method roles and use /s of difference, of overt criminal enterprise, all that at the same time, with the kids and adults of the three branches of government and the intelligence tied to them in the state offices and names next to it, and the difference of that. Per this breaching method uses of difference. Per this breaching method uses of differences, styles of logic in nature, and names uses that are forcing left out how the breaching method assigned white and black to be used. In other words, you could see that the torture of the individual presidents as Republicans and Democrats, their shock and awe, relativity to it. The same way other countries' leaders are, and like regarding really how and why people pretend that voting is a value that it isn't. In other words, this breaching method employed us to charge ourselves for things that we don't even need to be charged for, and they just lock down the breaching method's employment /s of value nature systems like economies, originally still used to measure and maintain left out the breaching method roles, forcing that entrenched. With the tactically denatured suburbs per the plan to only allow capable of being roles with the real causes of negative INH progression to action natures and building up vertically from tactically denatured base. Blame the other things, others themselves, or that person's sense and hurt and worse. It's all hers.